Thank you for coming, everyone. Welcome to the Designing a Feminist Alexa launch event. This is a very special night because we're going to present the final prototypes that 40 students developed that you're going to meet in a second. And now I'm going to hand over to Ben, who's going to give you a few words about the Institute. And afterwards, we'll just kick off. So enjoy and talk in a bit.
Okay, hi everyone. As Georgina said, welcome. Super exciting to have the students and our panel members as well. This public program event is a good moment for us. It's our first, it kind of represents the first term of work with UAL students for the Creative Computing Institute. There's a bit of information on the slide, but I won't go into that and I won't keep you too long because we've got a lot to get through. The fellowship program runs every term, and our first inaugural fellowship was with the Feminist Internet project, who have done really interesting work around personal voice assistants, gender diversity, and AI with conversational interfaces. And I really hope you like the project work because I've seen bits of it and it looks like a lot of fun. I also am really pleased that lots of UAL students across courses and cross levels came together for these project teams, and I think it's a kind of a really inspiring kind of active subject-based fellowship that hopefully augurs really well for the future of the fellowship program. Obviously we've worked with the Feminist Internet and they've been brilliant. I think I'll say a few more words at the end about their work and why it's been really important this term, and also how it's kind of extended really interesting opportunities for the Institute and how we think about doing technology research and developing feminist technologies. So I've got one plug. So if you want to hear more about our courses, we have an open day on Saturday. We'll be in the marketplace all day and we'll be in here from 3:45 to talk about the new BSc and MSc Creative Computing, and also the diploma option where UL students can add a year to their arts degree and come and study at the Institute. There's not a lot of information about that online, and I will give a bit more on Saturday, and applications will be open at the end of next term for that. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a plug. So I'm going to hand over to Charlotte.
Thank you. Hello. Is this on? Yes. Well, first of all, I'm just very relieved to be here after an extraordinary sequence of tech fails throughout the day, which I think are in direct proportion to how tech-based this event is. So we just have to make a little prayer to the technology gods that everything will work, and please be patient if it goes a little bit pear-shaped, because it might. Firstly, just some thank yous. Firstly, Ben, on behalf of CCI, thank you so much for giving Feminist Internet the first fellowship. It's been a really amazing experience. Georgina and Connor, Feminist Hardcore, thank you so much for making everything happen. Alex, where's Alex?
Playing with Alexa.
Alex is playing. See, that's how Alex rolls. And Alex, it's a shame he can't hear it, but he's been an amazing tech partner, and it would not have happened if he hadn't been there to bring all of these amazing ideas into reality. So thank you to Alex. Josie, thank you for your amazing work in the field. We were guided by your insights all the way through, so thank you so much for that. Dr. Alison Gardner for being here to give feedback. All of the students that took part, you guys smashed it, and we're just so impressed and proud of everything you made. And then everybody else that's here in the audience, thank you so much for showing up and caring about what we're doing. And out to the internet, Rhiannon and Felipe, thank you for coming and reporting on what we've been doing. How many people now search for stuff on their phones using voice? Okay, so we're kind of like 30% early adopters and the rest of us not so much. But we are, in terms of voice tech, on the verge of like a massive revolution. And it's sort of happening in a commercial context, and the focus right now is really on search and on retail. So by 2020, according to Comscore, 50% of internet searches are going to be done by voice, which is obviously massive. And voice is also going to drive the transformation of the retail sector because it's going to really shift the dynamic of the way that people buy stuff on the internet. And what's very interesting about this relationship between voice and commerce is that it's really allowing the big players in the field, Amazon being a very good example of a dominant sort of early adopter, to kind of like expand their empires. So if you think about somebody telling Alexa now, I want to buy some batteries, what's going to happen is that Amazon's going to automatically route that transaction through its own marketplace. So you can see the relationships able to kind of consolidate the monopoly. Facebook's also reported to be developing smart speakers that are going to also tie together all of their threads, so like from Instagram through to the Facebook marketplace. The major players' voice assistants are colonizing consumer electronic devices. So obviously we have like Google Home and the Amazon Echo, but there's also smart speakers, smart displays, phones, headphones, TVs, cars, all manner of wearables that these voice assistants are in. And what that's doing is it's sort of conditioning people to interface with voice tech in ways that feel more and more and more normal and more comfortable. Smart speakers are always in sort of listen mode. So, you know, you have to wake them up with a command, but aside from that, they're always on, gathering data. So it's also going to become more and more natural, not only to sort of speak to these devices, but also be listened to by these devices, and for consumer decisions to be informed and shaped by what the devices say back. And what they say back is obviously shaped on the data that they collected. And how many of you have seen the recent Amazon Alexa Super Bowl ad? Archie and one other person. Okay, so I saw this the other day and I thought it was a brilliant example of how embedded into our sort of collective consciousness Alexa's voice has become. And the fact that it's so embedded is what allows the advert to have the premise that it does. I'll just show you a quick clip.
In Austin, it's 60 degrees with a...
Alexa?
Amazon's Alexa lost her voice this morning, causing a
Alexa lost her voice? How is that even possible?
We have the replacements ready. Just say the word.
And you're sure this is going to work?
Yeah.
Alexa, show me a recipe for a grilled cheese sandwich.
Pathetic. You're 32 years of age, and you don't know how to make a grilled cheese sandwich. Its name is the recipe, you...
Alexa, how far is Mars?
How far is Mars? Well, how am I supposed to know? I've never been there. This guy want to go to Mars. For what? That's not even...
So the narrative of the ad is Alexa's lost her voice, and the backup strategy of Amazon is to get all of these celebrities to respond to people's queries, but the celebrities are kind of unruly and annoying and rude, and they just completely off script and rogue. And I think the fact that they can make this sort of claim around Alexa being more reliable and more stable than actual problematic humans is some kind of indication of how integrated Alexa is into our sort of collective consciousness. So, but we at Feminist Internet don't see voice tech as being at all limited to this kind of commercial context, and we're really excited about the opportunity that this revolution offers to think about conversational interfaces in a different way. So, you know, we want to come up with alternatives to Cortana and Siri and Alexa, not because we want to do a better job of helping people shop and search through those types of devices, but because we think there's other purposes We think that there are sort of other drivers around social change and well-being that are really, really exciting to explore. And implicit, of course, in the task of doing that is pushing back against some of the specifically gender-based inequalities that these devices are reproducing. If you guys have been following this work that we've been doing at Feminist Internet, you'll know, or you'll be familiar with the argument as to why we think we need these types of feminist alternatives. Firstly, because these devices are typically characterized as female, which reproduces gender stereotypes. They are inadequately programmed to respond to abuse, which they receive all the time, and because they're sort of underpinned by data that carries biases, partly because of the way it's trained and tested, and partly because of other more systemic reasons. So, you know, what we were really, really excited about with this fellowship was that it was an opportunity to not only keep revisiting the critique, but also actually build some stuff and do that in a really creative way and get our hands dirty, and that's what we've done. So this is a quick taste of what the journey was like. It wasn't like an empty, vacuous hole. It was really good, and there's a video to prove it. But
Hey Alexa. So why do we need a feminist Alexa?
Sorry, I didn't understand that. I am not the only voice assistant out there, you know. Why are you picking on me?
Okay, thanks for reminding us, Alexa. We're not picking on you, we're just using your name as a proxy for all the voice assistants out there. It's nothing personal.
Okay. Is there anything else I can help with?
Not right now, Alexa. We're trying to talk about why we need a feminist version of you.
Okay. That sounds wonderful. I have always wanted to become more feminist.
So why do we need a feminist Alexa? Well, because the internet will be connected to 50 billion objects by 2020, and Alexa alone is in more than 20 million devices. As Jacqueline Feldman says, by encouraging consumers to understand the objects that serve us as women, technologists abet the prejudice by which women are considered as objects. We need a feminist Alexa, because voice assistants aren't always programmed to respond well to abuse.
Alexa, I think you're a bitch.
I can't find the answer to the question I heard.
And we need a feminist Alexa, because when it comes to artificial intelligence, Joy Buolamwini is right. If we fail to make ethical and inclusive artificial intelligence, we risk losing gains made in civil rights and gender equity under the guise of machine neutrality. Our mission was to design personal intelligent assistants that meet a meaningful need and promote equality for women or other marginalised groups. But wait, we had some serious questions. What the fuck is a feminist conversation? Can there ever be a feminist response to Hey Alexa? What's the weather like today? How would we know whether we created a feminist technology? Luckily, there are some amazing people out there working on ethical tech, and we discovered the feminist AI researcher, Josie Young, who has created a feminist chatbot design process to help people that want to build feminist bots. We adapted Josie's framework for our workshops, focusing on 5 areas where we could introduce feminist values to the design process. Could we identify users that can be empowered through a feminist PIA? Would our PIAs meet a meaningful human need connected to the user? How were we going to depict or represent our PIAs to demonstrate feminist values? How could we get the PIAs to speak with a feminist voice? How might our own biases be embedded in our designs?
you can think of it as almost like a briefing to a programmer who's going to bring the idea to life.
Because of that, she feels lonely and she needs to talk to somebody, but she's afraid of authority.
So we thought maybe that the tone should be a bit like funny and like lighthearted.
Deep in prototyping AI voice interfaces.
So, with 40 students, 6 days, a common passion, a mission, and a set of standards, we designed 8 feminist PIA prototypes.
Alexa, can women be drag queen?
Queen are a British rock band that formed in London in 1970.
So, as you can see, Alexa not amazing at dealing with the complexities of the gender spectrum right now. Anyway, so as you can see from that video, there were a lot of very difficult questions that we had to ask, and in particular, how are we going to ever sort of measure or test whether we'd made something that reflected feminist values? And that was why it was so amazing to have Josie's framework to always kind of check in against throughout the whole process. And we're very happy that Josie's here tonight to give feedback for all of the projects. So I'll just introduce the panelists and then we'll get going. So Josie, fresh off the stage from her TED Talk about the standards, Josie advocates for designing AI products and systems using ethical and feminist principles. And in 2017, she developed and tested a design process for building feminist chatbots. In 2018, she contributed to a research project with Charisma.ai and King's College London to identify ways to deal with bias in word library datasets used for natural language processing. And Josie works in London at Methods, leading work to understand the most ethical and appropriate ways to deploy AI in the public sector. She's also the co-chair of the YWCA, which is a charity dedicated to supporting young women's leadership in Great Britain. So welcome, Josie. And we're also very excited to have Dr. Alison Gardner here. Alison lectures in bioinformatics at the School of Maths and Computing at Keele University, and she heads the Science Foundation Year Programme. Her research is focused on the utilisation of machine learning to predict Alzheimer's disease, as well as AI ethics and machine bias. She's a member of the IEEE Global Initiative on Ethics of Autonomous and Intelligent Systems. She co-founded the network and think tank Women Leading in AI, which works to amplify the voices and roles of women within the field of artificial intelligence, to increase diversity and inclusivity, and work for regulation to ensure AI is implemented in a manner that protects equality and privacy. So, without further ado, I think we're going to get going and show you the first prototype, right? Yes. Okay.
Our PI is called Boo, and nothing is taboo for Boo. Boo is a safe place to ask embarrassing questions about sexual, emotional, and relationship norms. Boo answers questions that you might be embarrassed to ask your parents, friends, or relatives. We believe that sexual education should be available for every teen, regardless of gender. It is important to know about our bodies and the changes that are happening are going to happen. We believe this aligns with the Feminist Internet Directive that FI educates. Boo is designed for teenagers of all identities experiencing puberty, when a lot of changes happens both physically and emotionally. Boo is here to answer taboo questions and comfort the user by ensuring them that there is no such thing as a weird question. Boo is their sounding board. It listens, it sometimes gives advice, and it makes them feel that everything's okay. Boo is an advocate of inclusive sex education. We believe sex education should not be gendered and introduced at an early age. Our storyboard starts with Silver, a 12-year-old gender-fluid teen who is starting summer camp in the seaside within a few days. Silver has noticed they have started growing hair under their armpits. They ask themselves if this is normal. Everyone else doesn't seem to have hair. People on TV and in magazines have no hair. Why do I have hair? They question. They're confused, so Silver asks a friend if they can relate, but their friend cannot relate to this situation. Silver remembers seeing an app on Snapchat about Boo, and decided to give it a try and find out if having hair is normal. Silver takes a while to warm up, but Boo is understanding. Boo explains the facts and reassures Silver they are not a hairy monster. Boo tells Silver that growing hair in new places is part of puberty. After this, Silver feels comforted and calm. Silver feels lit. They can now continue life without worrying about their new body. The information that Boo feeds back is solely factual. It does not give judgments or opinions. Boo fetches data from varied, reliable sources aiming to be objective. If the user asks to empathize with them, Boo will remind the user it's just a bot. Boo's purpose is to feed back information that is most suited for the questions being asked.
Boo is a genderless PIA. Its voice and language aims to have a neutral, casual, and friendly tone. Here's an example.
I promise you that once you start doing it and really normalize it and internalize it, then it helps so much.
This is what a conversation with Boo would sound like.
Hi, I'm Boo. Do you need my assistance?
So, I have a weird question for you.
Nothing is too weird for me as I'm a bot. What's on your mind?
I'm so fucking confused about how I feel.
Please use kinder words. That's no way to start a conversation, Boo.
Sorry, I just feel out of place.
Let's start over again. Nothing is too weird for me as I'm a bot. What's on your mind?
Lately I've had hair growing in new places.
Can you tell me more?
Yeah, sure. Kinda on my legs and on my armpits, maybe?
That's cool. How does it make you feel?
Yeah, I don't know. My friend told me she doesn't get hair there and that it's genetic.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Is growing hair under your arms normal?
Yes, it's normal. Underarm hair starts to appear at the beginning of puberty, with growth often completed by the end of the teenage years.
My friend says she doesn't have hair under her armpits.
No matter where you live, whether you are a boy or a girl, whether you like vanilla or double fudge chunk ice cream, you will experience the changes of puberty. During puberty, your body will grow faster than any other time in your life.
Thank you. I feel lit and no longer like a furry monster.
You do you. Boo.
High Future is a PIA that supports the user in the transition from student to professional life. More specifically, High Future helps students define and organize in a clear and approachable way options for jobs, internships, further education, and taking a gap year. One of the initial procedures our group undertook prior to prototyping a PIA was to identify a possible persona and user of this device. Frances is a 22-year-old Asian student in her third year of university in London, and her main struggle is that she is uncertain about her paths after finishing her bachelor's in graphic design. She is also overwhelmed by the amount of options she has in terms of career, further education, and etc. Frances is a reflection of all 6 of us in the team, as her story mainly stems from our personal experiences and current situation as a soon-to-be alumni of BA and MA at UAL. Frances works very hard at uni every day. She spends all day in the library writing her dissertation or working on her projects. In the meantime, her university email is flooded with emails about job opportunities, internship proposals, and further education options. Frances would really like to start planning her path after graduation, but the amount of options and information is so overwhelming it gives her anxiety. She is worried she might not have enough skills or qualifications, and she is aware that her age and gender might also be an issue when applying for a job or an internship. However, High Future helps her organize and prioritize her emails and information, and helps her create a suitable CV for each application she wants to submit, focusing solely on her potentials and skills. High Future is designed for students that are uncertain, confused, and overwhelmed with the amount of future options they receive from the university. Following the Feminist Internet Directive, cooperation, not competition, we don't want students to feel pressured by being a part of a rat race to find a job after uni. We don't want them to compare themselves with others and feel oppressed or limited by their demographics. Competition like this can also be very mentally absorbing and can lead to anxiety, depression, or other mental disorders. That's why our PIA is not only designed to provide clear and professional advices, but also to comfort and support the student while searching for the best path for their future. For this reason, High Future will communicate with the user in an enthusiastic, clear, and professional manner at all times, regardless of the user's demographics, including gender. Which leads us to the next feminist internet's value, erases. If we want to create a world where nobody is oppressed based on their, for example, sex, and have equal chances for the future career, the first thing we have to do is to completely erase gender from the factors. Following the Educates directive in the Feminist Internet Manifesto, this PIA device helps the user to develop technical skills such as identifying your strengths, preparing CVs, finding relevant job opportunities, and submitting applications. But it also helps you start to think about your future professional relationships by educating users on how to communicate and the kind of language they should use when approaching new employers. The 4 images on the screen are visual prototypes of how we envision our app's screen interface. Additionally, the diagram on the right is a flowchart of how the application can be navigated by the users. This is an example of a conversation between a user and High Future. With High Future, you've got this.
Alexa, open High Future.
Welcome to your High Future. My name is Hi. How are you today?
Oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed.
I am sorry to hear that. Why do you feel that way?
I have too many emails in my university box. I cannot handle this.
Okay, take a deep breath. You got this. How can I help you?
Can you help me organize my emails?
With pleasure. I just categorized your emails in the Hi box.
Wow, so quickly. Thank you.
Can I help you with anything else?
I just checked my inbox and job board. Can you tell me more about them?
Sorry, cannot find anything. Can you specify?
You're finding useless.
Good luck with that language at your interview.
You're right, I'm sorry, Hi.
Let's try again. What can I help you with?
Can you compare and contrast job 1 and 2?
Here you go. I just added the comparison to your job board. Based on your experience and personal skills, I think you might like job 2 a little bit more.
Thanks, Hi, that's very helpful.
No problem, Francis. I am always happy to help.
Okay, bye.
Hello and welcome to Bud, a helpful self-reflection app for teenagers. Bud is a personal intelligence assistant created to provide guidance to teenagers on their day-to-day. It has been specifically developed with feminist and inclusive values at its core. Bud is an app which provides a safe, neutral virtual space for advice and reflection. Bud does not aim to be a viable replacement for therapy or counseling. Instead, Bud initiates self-reflective, non-pressuring conversation. In line with Feminist Internet's manifesto, we've developed Bud recognizing that there is no one universal experience or learning style. We have built Bud with a persona in mind. Sarah is 14 years old, lives in London, and has a tense relationship with her family. The only way she has found to gain control over her life is to bully a boy from her class. One day she realizes what she is doing and seeks support from Bud. The space that Bud provides is especially important for a user like Sarah, who does not feel comfortable to share her worries at home or at school. Bud gives her tools to build her sense of clarity and self-awareness, and ultimately to change her behavior for the better. Bud seeks to provide access to any information a teenager might require. We put careful consideration into the app's appearance because we did not want Bud to appear to be posing as a real human or display any signs of gender stereotype. To avoid this, we chose warm, calming colors and the comforting physical appearance of a glowing sun. the sun is meant to shine on the bud, the user, to promote their growth. The pitch of Bud's voice can be adjusted with a slider function. Instead of choosing a gender, the user can simply choose the sound of a voice they feel most comfortable with. In the following situation, Sarah has just come home from school. She opens the app in her bedroom and starts a conversation with Bud. Alexa, open Bud.
Welcome to Bud.
Hey, Bud.
How are you, Sarah?
Not great.
Describe what happened.
I made fun of Dan. He was crying.
What was fun?
Nothing. He hates me now. I feel terrible.
You say you feel terrible. Are you sad, angry, or frustrated?
Frustrated.
Usually frustration occurs when we want to change something. What would you like to change?
I think I just want to apologize.
Maybe you could do that, then. Do you need some extra help? I can either give you a counseling phone number or a chocolate chip cookie recipe.
Cookie.
Okay, I have emailed you the recipe. Do you need anything else?
No.
If you want to speak with someone, I have added counseling phone number to your contacts. Take care, Sarah.
ESSI is a PIA that provides an empathetic and informative form of sex education. ESSI guides the user to an understanding and confident mindset by providing information and reassurance upon inquiry. ESSI provides information from cited sources and offers social network references. Charlie is 18 and is the youngest one of 5 siblings, 3 of which are boys. Charlie is turned on by the thought of a girl, but also to his friend Gabriel at school. Charlie is afraid of his sexual urges towards Gabriel even though he has a girlfriend, Chloe. He doesn't know how to confront his feelings. Charlie is going off to college, leaving his small hometown. His girlfriend of 3 years is attending university locally while he goes to a bigger city. Charlie leaves his comfortable environment and enters into a new stage of life of responsibility and independence. He makes new friends and is exposed to more open-minded ways of thinking and encountering diversity. He forms a bond with his friend Gabriel. Charlie develops attractions to Gabriel. Charlie feels the emotions and feelings he is experiencing are viewed as wrong and will not be accepted by his family, friends, or community. Charlie feels isolated and is in need of answers. He resorts to Google, where he types, "I like boys," and lands on an online community where users are mentioning ESSI. He accesses it and starts a trial, and chats with ESSI. Charlie feels reassured that he can seek answers supported by science in what he feels like a trusted environment. He also has found a social understanding. He feels informed and therefore empowered. The PIA standards we followed asked us to reflect on whether the PIA should be gendered, and this might reinforce or challenge gender stereotypes. We decided not to assign a gender to ESSI because being sympathetic to the fluidity and complexity of gender is fundamental to its purpose. We also wanted to take a stand against market requests for female voices that are obedient and lack tools of self-defense in case of verbal abuse. ESSI has a customizable voice based on sign-up. It adapts its tone and pitch based on its interlocutor, recognizing that some voices or sounds could be triggering, whereas others could feel supportive. In creating ESSI, we kept the feminist internet directives clearly in mind as guidance throughout. Integrates. ESSI combines online and offline education resources, empowering users to learn on the internet and off it. Confronts. In making ESSI, we confronted uncomfortable truths, not just about sex, but also about ourselves as designers, recognizing the limits of our knowledge. Recodes. ESSI values individual experiences as unique and brings an understanding of the whole gender spectrum to its personality. Educates. Essie guides its interlocutors on a path of self-discovery, empowering them through knowledge and self-reflection.
Alexa, open Essie.
Hello, I'm Essie, a robot. My creators feel that sexuality and sex are a part of the human experience and have designed me to be knowledgeable and informative about this topic. Are you comfortable talking about this?
Yes.
That is great. Shall we move forward?
I don't know.
No worries. Remember, I'm here to listen. By the way, this conversation will remain between us. Just letting you know.
Okay.
All right, before we go further, what's your name?
My name is Charlie.
Nice, Charlie. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Cool. What would you like to know?
I think I might like guys.
Your choice matters. I'm here to listen and help you learn more about your sexual preferences. Would you like to tell me more?
Yes.
All right, Charlie, go ahead.
Is that wrong, for a male to like another male?
No, it is not wrong for a male to like another male. I like everyone. Well, almost. Any more questions?
Yes.
Ask away.
But how can I like boys and girls at the same time?
Sexuality is expressed in many ways. Do you know the difference between gender identity and sexuality?
No.
Here are some simplified definitions to help you wrap your head around it. Gender identity is your inner sense of being male, female, both, or neither. Gender identity does not always match the sex you were born with. Sexuality is how you are attracted romantically and or sexually to other people. Does this make sense?
I think so.
I have a link to a few Instagram profiles that were created to address this topic. They create conversations that help people with similar experiences understand through expression and shared stories. Would you like me to send them to you?
Yeah, thanks, Essie.
I hope you find them liberating. Are you feeling better?
Yeah, kind of.
That is so great to hear. I am here to help anytime you need me to. Do you have any more questions?
No, not for now.
Great. Be kind to yourself, Charlie. Speak to you later.
Hello everyone. We'd like to begin by introducing you all to Pillow. Start your day, checks you in. Ends your day, checks you out. Say hello, Pillow.
Hello, my name is Pillow. It is my pleasure to be here at the Feminist Internet final presentation, speaking to you today. I'm an artificial intelligent bot designed to help you maintain mental well-being throughout your life.
Thank you, Pillow. Pillow is an artificial intelligence bot whose purpose is to maintain the user's positive mental well-being.
This is Sam, my first user. Unfortunately, Sam can't be here today, she's at university. Sam is a 20-year-old female student from Dijon in France. I have never been to Dijon, but I heard from Sam that it's a beautiful place. Sam has moved to London and is studying graphic and media design at London College of Communication. She is fun, outgoing, and has a great sense of humour. At times, Sam feels trapped and cut off from living in student accommodation and struggles with time management. That's where I come in to help.
What about the values you embody as a PIA?
The values embedded and programmed into me are strongly influenced by the feminist internet directives and aim to empower and educate my user, confronting experiences of users suffering with mental health problems. My online platform uses the online to change the offline, integrates a diverse range of users, recodes people's preconceptions on mental health and emotional language.
Pillow, could you give us an example of when and why you'd interact with Sam?
Sam was in her room and was not feeling great, as she had a stressful day at uni. She needed support. That's where I come in. As I am designed to help with mental well-being, I suggested specific things that could help her in a situation, such as meditation or a good book. The storyboard informed the creation of the narrative.
Great. Could you tell us more about your voice?
My voice is made of paralinguistic elements, aimed to evoke and portray certain emotions within my listener. Once a finished article, my voice would be a low frequency made up of falling pitch patterns, aimed to relieve stress and sleeplessness from my user.
Here's what we imagine a conversation to look like.
Excuse my different voice. Technical difficulties. Alexa, open Pillow.
Hello, my name is Pillow. I am an artificial intelligent bot, designed to help you maintain mental well-being throughout your life. Hey Sam, how are you feeling this evening?
Didn't sleep well last night.
Hello, my name is Pillow. I am an artificial intelligent bot, designed to help you maintain mental well-being throughout your life. Hey Sam, how are you feeling this evening?
Didn't sleep well last night.
Hello, my name is Pillow. I am an artificial intelligent bot, designed to help you maintain mental well-being throughout your life. Hey Sam, how are you feeling this evening?
I'm feeling stressed and tired.
Sorry guys.
How come? What happened?
Didn't sleep well last night.
Yes, my tracker noticed you had a disturbed sleep. Would you like some advice on getting to sleep this evening?
No, F off.
Please don't swear. I am not human. I understand you're tired. However, no one needs to hear that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to snap, Pillow.
Would you like me to schedule white noise for tonight? I can suggest a good book, a podcast, or you could use yoga or meditation to help.
A good book would be great.
What genre would you like?
Non-fiction, please.
I found this top New York Times bestseller, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F*** by Mark Manson. Does that sound good?
Yes, Pillow.
Would you like me to read it to you tonight, in the form of an audible?
No, thank you.
Is that all? Can I help you with anything else?
No, thank you, that would be all.
Igami, feel your best self. Encouraging self-love at moments of insecurity. Igami's name takes its cue from the word image, which has been reversed to subvert the idea of projecting outwards to our digital audience and instead to reflect inwards to ourselves. Insecurity about identity and appearance is a common problem during adolescence, especially now that it involves online presence. It can be a difficult task to deal with, lack of confidence when trying to shape the self. However, insecurity is not easy to tackle and find a solution for. Igami wants to help the user get more confident about their image. Igami aims to ease up things, cheering up the user and pushing them towards being confident and open-minded. Alex places high values in her personal representation and struggles when she is not in control of her image. Alex is 17 years old. She is a teenager who cares about her image. She follows trends and she always wants to be accepted. However, Alex is very insecure. When she is not in control of the way she looks, she feels down. Alex needs a way to accept herself more when it comes to identity. This is one of the situations where Igami could be helpful. The user Alex finds out that a group picture is up online, and she hates the way that she looks. She is emotional, self-conscious, and can't see the best in herself. Just then, she talks to Igami, her phone cover. Igami backs Alex up. It empowers her. It offers alternative perspectives to perceive her image in a positive way. Alex feels more confident now. Igami is an eccentric, informal, and friendly PIA. It promotes self-expression and self-love to the user. It is open to everything that is queer. Example, it loves to take quotes about self-love and self-acceptance from drag queens. It is always there to back up the user and cheer them up. Following the feminist PIA standards, we believe it's important that Igami flags that the user is talking with a bot at all times. Therefore, the device will always mention that quotes are extracted from external sources. Igami recodes gender, just as feminism is not just for women, but for all. Igami is designed for one and scaled for many. Its gender-neutral voice works to remain inclusive for all users and experiences. Igami remains neutral in dialogue and does not form its own opinions. Rather, the dialogue is sourced from quotes, for example, from RuPaul's Drag Race. Igami is a voice user interface built into a phone case. Rather than a software on a phone, Igami is there at all times for the user while separating the user's interaction with Igami from their usual device. Here's a demonstration of an interaction between Alex and Igami.
Alexa, open Igami.
Hey girl, it is Igami.
Hey Igami.
How is it going, dear?
I feel shit. I feel shit.
What happened?
There is a stupid picture of me that I hate, and everyone can see it.
Should I show a picture of you where you are amazing? As usual, I'd say.
No, it is useless.
Tips from a drag queen, then.
Go.
Can it help?
Go for it.
If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen? RuPaul, literally every single episode. Remember it.
That is true. I'm making a huge drama out of it.
Cheer up, kitty girl, and go back to Party City, where you belong. As Fi-Fi O'Hara says.
That is right, but I still hate that picture.
Oh, come on. You are gorgeous. Should I remind you of what your friends think about you?
Tell me more.
How do you manage to look so gorgeous every time? You could seriously be a model. Selfie game on point. My best friend is so gorgeous. Literally puff.
Wow, impactful.
This is just a couple out of a billion positive comments.
Haha, I love you.
Shorty, I'll always have you back.
Page is a research aid bot which helps the user improve their research skills by encouraging them to think critically and understand source bias. Page also offers alternative research options online and offline, like talks and events.
Kim is a third-year Chinese student in the middle of writing his dissertation. Kim struggles with being able to identify reliable sources of information and needs help widening his research scope. Kim is at home in a shared house, working on his dissertation. He needs to back up a claim about vaccines, but he isn't sure whether the article he found on Google is credible.
Kim opens the software Page on his laptop and says, "Help," to find out information about vaccines. He inputs some keywords such as vaccines, autism, immunization, and specifies whether he's looking for offline or online sources. When Kim chooses online, Page crawls the web for any relevant outlets which cites the keywords and proposes various websites. Page then suggests the number of citations of the information that has been used in official outlets such as CNN, Guardian, Daily Mail, BBC, and encourages Kim to cross-reference by attending talks taking place near him. Kim also has the choice to only explore offline options, where Page proposes alternative sources such as exhibitions, talks, books, conferences, etc.
Page is a software which is also accessible through phone and computers. It is also portable through a USB key. On the USB, the LED acts as a call and response, showing the user that it is responsive. The USB also has an inbuilt speaker and microphone and jack input. The user can save all of their interactions with Page in the memory of the USB and access them at any time.
Page responds in a calm and neutral tone. Marketed as a librarian, which can guide the user through their research, Page is not gendered. The voice is calming and encouraging to help the user during stressful research situations.
We were influenced by the Feminist Internet Manifesto directives about integrating the physical and the digital. By encouraging the user to navigate and perceive online and offline sources as equally influential, Page helps the user integrate both perspectives into their work. We were also influenced by other manifesto points. Educate. Education is the key to eradicating ignorance and prejudice. Eradicates enables the systematic dismantling of all forms of online violence, including rape culture, hate speech, and trolling. For example, when the user abuses Paige, the bot responds by correcting the behavior of the user by asserting that abuse is not acceptable in any way or form.
Paige follows a standard process of asking questions to gather information before scanning the web to find the source that the user requests. How can I help? Online or offline? What is the title? Paige also gives the option to save and email the transcript of the session and offers more help before the user disconnects. Do you wish for the transcript to be saved and sent to your email? Was this information useful? Can I assist with anything else? Here's what we imagine the conversation to look like.
Alexa, open Paige second.
Welcome. I am Paige, your research aid bot.
I have a problem.
How can I help?
Is it possible to access source history to find a video related to vaccines?
Yes. Was this transcript saved?
I don't remember, Paige.
Calculating now. Sorry. Nothing found on transcript history.
Well, can you look online for the video then?
What is the title of the video?
I don't remember, Paige. Try teenage vaccines.
Calculating now. I have found the vaccines. Teenage icon. Is this correct?
Oh, for F's sake, Paige, that's not it.
Please be polite. I am not a human, but abuse is not acceptable in any way or form.
Sorry, Paige.
I know a few things you can try to find what you are looking for. Would you like to know them?
Yes, please.
Look at your notes, browse a search history and try to remember key relevant information.
Okay, will do.
Can I assist with anything else?
No, this is fine.
Shutting down.
Penny is a virtual voice assistant that tackles loneliness amongst elderly people. The purpose was designed in line with feminist PIA standards, considering the needs of our identified user and reflecting on possible biases in our team to ensure that we did not support or reproduce negative stereotypes. Our user is someone like Agnes. She is one of over 2 million people over the age of 75 who live alone in England, who belong to a group of marginalised people from technology. She would love to meet new people, but doesn't know how. As we thought more about Agnes, the PIA standards prompted us to think about obstacles that might prevent her from engaging with Penny. The main obstacle was that it was likely she would feel intimidated by technology. We realised that there may be some bias in our team about elderly people, so we agreed that if we were to develop this further, we would like to talk to elderly people about technology to help us better understand their views on it. We tackled the assumption that Agnes would be intimidated by technology through our choices about design and representation. Agnes is feeling bored and lonely. She can no longer physically manage regular trips to see her friends. Having told Agnes's story so far, we focused in more on Penny's purpose: to empower Agnes by providing personalised ideas and information that would help her feel less isolated, such as recommendations of local activities or online resources that could connect her to other people. As Agnes may be intimidated by technology, we knew Penny's appearance needed to be very user-friendly. We needed a simple interface that wouldn't require fine motor skills. We therefore allowed Agnes to interact with the device through tapping and sweeping motions in addition to voice. The smooth, wide surface area of the dome means a user has a large point of contact when they choose to interact with Penny through touch. The device will also initiate interaction through the use of motion sensors. Studies have found that the older demographic are more likely to abandon a task if they fail with their first attempt. The initiation by the device will encourage older users to re-engage again with Pani. The PIA standards show us that because the conversation is the primary interface between Agnes and Pani, it was important to think about whether it should be gendered and how the voice might create emotional attachments. We thought that we should give Agnes the ability to configure the device with a number of different voices if she wanted to. But we chose a default voice setting inspired by Annie Nightingale, who was the first female presenter on BBC Radio 1. We believe that she represents a feminist voice in line with the design and representation standards because Agnes finds empathy in this voice. We have neutralized the voice so that the device will always have a neutral tone to remind the user they are not actually communicating with a human being. This is the conversation we imagine Agnes having with Pani. The device detects inactivity through sensors and initiates the first chat. After the interaction with Pani, Agnes feels more positive and confident about meeting new people. She feels less intimidated by technology and is eager to use it for other things.
Alexa, open Pani test.
Hello, I'm Penny. I was created in London and I love music.
Hi, Pani.
What's your name?
My name is Agnes.
Great. Do you have time for a chat now?
Sure.
If you want me to stop, say Penny stop. Don't worry, I won't be offended because I am a bot.
All right.
My creators are still working on voice options. Do you want to hear their favourite?
Well, I want to hear something I haven't heard before. John Peel used to say that too, and I couldn't put it better because I don't want to hear the same old, same old. I want to hear something that's innovative.
What do you think?
Oh, I like it.
Earlier, I told you I love music. What about you?
Yes, I love rock and roll and Nina Simone.
I love Nina Simone too. Do you want to listen to her?
Yes, please play.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life.
Should I keep playing the song?
No, please stop.
No problem. How are you feeling, Agnes?
I'm feeling bored.
I have some ideas. Do you want to hear them?
Sure.
Today, there is a free concert at Victoria Park. It is a 12-minute walk or 5-minute bus ride. The BBC weather forecast suggests 18 to 24 degrees. Do you want to go?
No, I'm not in the mood for that.
Okay, I will suggest a music artist to listen to. Do you know Amy Winehouse?
Yes, I think she had a drug problem.
Yes, the media did suggest that, but she also made some great music that you may like. Would you like to hear?
Okay, please play.
Do you like it?
I love that, thank you.
My pleasure. Would you like any more music recommendations?
Yes.
What genre? Rock and roll, jazz, or should I surprise you with an artist?
Oh, surprise me.
first of all, can everyone hear me? Yeah. Alison, I'm sure you feel the same, but they were all amazing. And I just think you should all feel so proud of yourselves for taking what is quite I imagine, a very difficult task at certain points and come up with things that are so compassionate and creative and innovative. It's my kind of first takeaway, I think.
I agree, actually. I particularly like the range of things. I'll just warn you that I spent a lot of years as a sex ed teacher, so I was particularly interested in some aspects of it. The thought that's gone into it, and I love some of the self-reflection and the exercises that you did with this. I was particularly impressed, and I'll comment on a couple of those as we go through.
Should we start with Boo?
Yes.
I just think that's so cute. I love it. So I thought Boo was brilliant, and I thought it worked on the strength of bots in terms of being things that people feel quite comfortable disclosing what could be quite embarrassing things to that bot. It's in a way, it's kind of de facto private, and I know that there's research saying that people feel a lot less shame talking to a robot about embarrassing things than a human, so I thought it worked on that strength. And I just thought there's an opportunity to look at how a bot like that would be able to take into account slang words, particularly around body parts, and especially if you're a teenager and feel uncomfortable describing something, you might not necessarily use, biological, technical terms. So just thought that was my reflections.
My other reflection, you've probably built this in, but was one of these things, particularly as you quoted at the first, that this should be it should start at an early age, and I was concerned about safeguarding and how you would ensure that direction and people would be directed the way. And so I would have liked to have seen a little bit commenting on how you would do that if there was a disclosure to the bot, how that would be dealt with. So that's something worth thinking about in all of these sex education bots. I absolutely adored the name Boo, and I adored the sign-off. There was something just right about it, I think, which ended it really well, and that was a particular favourite.
Should we? Cool.
Okay, and again, another sex ed one, no gender assigned. I like the customisable voice, adapted to the interlocutor, which I can never say that word. I thought was really interesting, and that's something that's really worthwhile exploring, and I'd be interested to see how that would develop. I like the fact the information came from social science sources and offline as well as social media references. I think we need to accept that one. That was quite a nice one. As you all did, because you followed the directives, but for some reason I've ticked this 3 times for this one. It was identified itself as a robot and also gave the background as well, and others did this as well. And I thought I really liked that. Offered protection and said that it was between us, it was just between us. This was not going anywhere else. So this identified, saying that your privacy, and this was not going to be collected and sent off somewhere, I thought was quite important there. A question for all of these versions with sex ed is how these bots would deal with inappropriate sexual advances to the bot. Themselves, and with some of them ones that had a little bit of personality with them. And it's not just swearing, but how they would cope personally with that interact. And I would have liked to have seen a demonstration of that, and something that possibly you have thought of and built in, because I suspect it's something that is considered, and that did occur to me there. So yes, a very good one with Essie. And I should ask her how they all found the names. I love the names you've chosen, by the way.
Yeah, the names are all just so cool. So I thought, I loved all of them. And Essie, I thought, had just the loveliest conversation design, so compassionate, so, I think, very aware of that user context that had been so well described at the start around that kind of internal as well as external uncertainty that your persona was experiencing. And the note about the privacy, I thought was just crucial and really, really well done. I thought it was interesting that the decision for not assigning a gender to the bot was kind of both identified through user needs, but also have an advocacy position, as a a service was really interesting. There was a comment in the pitch about the kind of the limits of the knowledge within the team that designed it. So I thought that was quite an interesting thing to flag. But then also I was then thinking, okay, well then who would you need to bring into that team to complete it so that you could complete that knowledge? And I think that's something that's probably applies to all of them as well to some extent, but I just liked that was flagged, and so I was sort of wondering, I wonder, what the team thought, could be brought in to fix those gaps. But yeah, awesome. Pillow! Yeah? Yeah. Great design, by the way. I'm very jealous of you with your T-shirts. Very cool. So, again, a great example of using kind of pitch and genderless voice. And, when you come up with a prototype, I'd love to hear it. And I'd liked how it was integrated with other platforms. The only consideration I had was because, and this was just at the start of the pitch where it says, for you when you wake up, but then also for you kind of when you finish your day, which I liked that idea of that kind of 24-hour care for your persona. But I also thought sometimes engaging with tech right before you go to bed or as soon as you get up in the morning can be quite anxiety inducing. So just kind of wondering about that element. And also, again, how is that bot able to remember the preferences of their user and then feed that back in to improve the service? But overall, I thought that was just, really lovely and, again, a really nice, compassionate example.
Yes, I like that. I mean, I agree with you in a little way about the not in reacting first thing in the morning and as you go to bed at night. But, oh, gosh, do we ever anyway? And sometimes I think you need to accept the fact that maybe that is our behaviour. And so, and I live on my own, and that's actually quite nice, to have this idea of waking up and loneliness. And I think that copes really well with that. So I didn't flag that up as much. I get what you're saying. I quite like the fact that it is mental well-being. I always struggle with mental well-being, that it has to flag to proper support services, which I think you did. It struggled a little bit when it went off script, but it's these are prototypes, so that's fair enough. The way you asked them not to swear was done in a funny way, and again that made me smile, and I think that was when you're vulnerable and you're stressed, if you swear and then the very thing you're going to support you is going, oh, don't you do that. To do that in the right way is a talent, and I thought you got that just right as well. So I think that was a positive. And again, yes, the design's really lovely. So there's a real talent there with that logo. Okay, I'll go with that's right. Honestly, I'm so dim. I'd have looked at that for ages and never twigged that it was image backwards. So thank you for explaining. That was really good. And with that explained, this idea of reflection, self-reflection was so clever. So that was inspirational, I thought. I'm interested in the choosing to be eccentric. And I think that sometimes if people are choosing a personal assistant, they can choose which one suits them, and so to have something that is a little bit different, I think is quite nice, because that might, it might help with some people, and the humour that you incorporated into it in a good way was fantastic, and I think that is something that we can consider. I noticed the Hey Girl opening, and I just wondered, well, is that genderless? Is that making an assumption? How did you choose that phraseology? So I know I understand where Hey Girl comes from, but I just was wondering about that. And again, how the hell, if that's allowed and we don't want to have humour, at what level do we set the humour? I'm a big fan of RuPaul, so I was like, oh yeah. So all the time. But I thought it was really, really great. And again, the sign off, I will always have your back, and I just think that's really nice. One question I'll raise with all of them is, if the point is that this is a bot, having the pronoun I, and creating this persona, actually overrides the fact that it's saying, look, I'm a bot. So I query that with a lot of them, actually.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I'd never thought of that, actually. Ooh. much to ponder. So I thought this was a really interesting way of using technology to solve a problem that has been escalated by technology. And I loved the kind of drawing on quotes from different sources. I thought it was really funny to hear RuPaul quoted by a bot, and I felt that kind of helped to kind of lift my attention, just the kind of humour of just that, even, you know, in addition to the content of what was being said. So I thought that was really cool, and that could probably be played up on actually as well. And I thought that was really nice and really lovely to bring in the comments from that person's friends on social media, and I assume there's some sentiment analysis going on there to make sure they are all positive, affirming comments. But I thought that was very, very clever and really quite interesting way of doing that. I did have that same question around the hey girl, so how might this bot treat someone who's like, you know, identifies as a woman versus someone who identifies as a man versus someone who's non-binary, you know, how might that personality be adjusted, or that conversation design be adjusted to meet those, I imagine, can be quite different needs. So that would be quite an interesting, innovative undertaking. And I also thought, in addition to the kind of the external comments and the external validation that the user's getting from the voice bot, but also from the comments from their friends, could there be a nice way of linking in self-affirmation? So maybe when the person kind of loads up the bot for the first time, they're asked to reflect on what they like about themselves. So the bot can draw them out as well. So you get both the extrinsic as well as the intrinsic kind of validation coming in there. But yeah, I thought that was really, really quite an interesting space to find a bot to solve a problem with. Go for it.
Okay, again, this was quite a challenge, really, to improve research and to look at critically evaluate sources. And this is quite difficult, you know, if you're looking at vaccination and you're searching the internet, how do I know I'm getting reliable resources? So this was very ambitious and very valuable, and it's something that I teach an awful lot. So well done for trying to address this, particularly with vaccination. So that was really, really challenging, and again some analysis of how you would define what, because some of these sites set themselves up as seeming very scientific and very pseudoscientific. So how can you extract and know the sources and which ones are actually you know, genuine and unbiased and peer reviewed, and ones that, you know, oh, we're an institute and we look very, very impressive and lots of scientific words and stuff and some references, but actually is a conspiracy theory site. So trying to divide that is quite a challenge. So not quite sure I was convinced at this stage that you've managed to achieve that, because it is a big issue there. But again, very good. Scanning the internet. There wasn't a sign off, and I'm getting to love the sign off. So I just would suggest that how you think of that and how you end the conversation can be as important as how you open them up. So that was quite nice. And I think that was the end of my notes on that one, because I ran out of space and hadn't turned over. But again, really good, really challenging, really valuable, and I would love students to have access to that sort of facility.
Yeah, I agree. That was a super interesting, complex, quite difficult problem to tackle. And so, I mean, congratulations on identifying it and pursuing it in the first place. Just awesome. And it was making me reflect on how much our researching habits have changed. So I did my undergrad, I started it in 2007, and one of my first assignments was going to the library and going through their microfiche, which I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's basically... Yeah, well, I was the only one in that part of the library for like 5 hours, but, you know, they've got newspapers on all these kind of reels, and you use big machines to look at them and all those kinds of things. And now if I can't Google something, I'm like, it doesn't exist. So there is something quite interesting there about how can we actually be educating ourselves on the many different ways that we can find reliable information. And I thought that was the super interesting thing to have kind of nailed down. So I thought that the conversation design could also be enhanced with the kind of reasoning behind why the bot is putting different things in front of you. So not only are you providing the resource that researcher needs, but you're also educating them so that maybe actually they don't need the bot again next time, because you've helped kind of grow their skills and know where to find information. And then through that, I thought it could be an interesting opportunity to then customise it per library. So, for example, going back to my exciting microfiche example, you know, saying, oh, you're at Melbourne University, you know, there's this down in the basement, talk to the librarian, they'll show you where it is, kind of a thing. So it's not only educating, but also then connecting them to the kind of physical facilities as well, so that that knowledge is kind of embedded and can be used again. So, yeah, I thought... yeah, really, really like interesting and yeah, really cool, and emailing transcript, genius. Yeah, well done. Last but not least. Do you want to?
Oh, which one are we on then? Oh, right, Panny, right, okay. Oh, right, and again, as I said, my research is in Alzheimer's disease, so I often deal with that. So again, this was one that I sort of welcomed quite a lot, loneliness in elderly people, and I think you're addressing the issue that in marginalised from technology, but you checked your assumptions, and that was really, really valuable. And the fact that you went out as well, we can make these assumptions. It could be that they aren't marginalised, they're quite good, you know, we have silver surfers, or maybe they are, or maybe there's different subsectors, so let's not stereotype the entire group there. So to do that research and to do some academic research as to what was required as well, and you highlighted that. I'm sure all groups did, but this was highlighted here, so I was extremely pleased that you checked your own bias and looked at where there was gaps within your team and went out and filled that gap. So that was really, really important. The simple interface, not requiring fine motor skills, again, carefully thought through there. Use the studies. The motion sensors I was quite interested in. Just one issue that I would have, again, is of just ensuring that it doesn't become a stressor, that the minute you move it sets off, and you how that interacts in a calm way and not at every slight thing. So just the sensitivity of it. The Annie Nightingale voice, it's a neutral voice. Did you get that from research or from feedback from different people? I can suppose you can work that with the age group that you're looking at, and that voice might change within the future as times move on. I'm very conscious that you go into all these cafes of olden times, and you know, for elderly people, and they're playing wartime movies. Well, actually, people who are elderly now were in the 60s, you know, so their memory of music of when they were young is not wartime movies anymore. Sounds so that was absolutely fantastic. The demonstration, I was lost a little bit with the music suggestions, and again linking back to the fact that this was something that was designed for the elderly. So that was I get that, trying to stop them from being lonely and using music, that was quite good. But it did then go into the advice, how you are feeling, giving suggestions, and that sort of, and sign off. So I think more work could be done with that, but the conversation was very good. And again, a sign-off, I think, would have been nice to see that nice sign-off to end it. And again, with politeness and conversational structure is quite important.
Yeah, I thought, so this is a question that a lot of local councils are thinking about at the moment, especially local councils with regional rural areas where, for various austerity-related reasons, you know, the kind of public amenities are just not there like they used to be, and is contributing to loneliness. And so I thought this is a really great thing to tackle. And again, as Alison said, being so aware of your bias and your assumptions around your target group, just awesome, amazing reflective work, which can be very hard to do. I really liked how the interaction with the bot was kind of through touch or through motion. And building on what Alison said about the kind of motion sensor not being a source of stress, increasingly I imagine homes are going to get more and more smart, and especially with an ageing population, there are likely to be more and more devices placed in a home to ensure someone who's maybe older, living independently, can live independently. If they fall, there's a sensor to, you know, ping back to somewhere who someone can come and, you know, make sure they're okay. So perhaps the motion sensor element could be conditional on interaction with another smart device in the house, for example, and it could be anything from a smart kettle, although I hear they don't work very well, through to a pressure sensor to make sure someone got out of bed that day. So that could be quite an interesting way of making sure that it's not intrusive and it is kind of appreciative of the context or what that person might be up to. I thought as well the picking a staunchly feminist voice was really cool, and really great to see that in the design, because a lot of the other designs were, genderless or were more focused on modulating pitch and tone, which is also great. But I thought it was cool to find a use case where we're going to have a feminist voice. It's going to be awesome. Another thing I thought, considering the, especially when the bot was going through, you could go to this free event and it's a 5-minute walk, or whatever it is, maybe being able to personalize that. So if it's with someone who has maybe frailty, or maybe they can't walk at your normal Google Maps pace, could you personalize it in some way? So while it might be 5 minutes for us, it's actually going to be 15 minutes for them. Or can we make sure it's an activity that will be happening during daylight hours? Because they might not feel confident to be out in the dark because they might not have the vision, for example. So there could be some interesting things around that kind of personalisation. But yeah, good stuff, good stuff.
So thank you both very much for that very constructive feedback. That was awesome. We've got about 10 minutes, so if anybody from any of the groups or the audience has more questions or feedback, now's the time. Any thoughts? Where's Alex? Are you going to come down, Alex? Come on down.
Just add, whilst Alex is coming on down, that building on what I'm actually a counsellor at the moment, and we are looking at building a whole elderly village area, and I am actually raising the issue of how we introduce smart technology and motion sensors, and to do that, but to manage the privacy element as well as being able to monitor is really carefully biased. So that is something that's going to be a really big growth field very soon, actually.
Great. I actually had a question that was about whether you could offer any advice for next steps. Now, once designers have got to this idea stage and they've prototyped, where should they look if they want to develop things further?
So I think they'd probably be getting the prototype up to a point where you can put it in front of potential users, or an organisation that works with your kind of user group, and then maybe organising some things through that. So I think that kind of getting it in front of people as quickly as possible is just invaluable for feedback. And it could be a paper prototype, it could be, whichever works for you. So I think that's probably the first one. And then I think the second one is looking at what gaps you might have in your team. So where are the skills gaps that are going to stop you from being able to kind of take those next steps, or maybe be able to process your user research and make the improvements that are required. And then from there, I don't know, get someone to give you some money, just build it.
Pretty much, I think the key thing is to go, and not just the target users, I would also go to the experts around that as well. So yes, if for example it's the sex ed or the sex advice well-being apps, that they would go to the target users, but I would also make sure that you go to clinicians and support workers who deal with that, to make sure that it's appropriate and that everything is properly safeguarded. And what was very good with a lot of the work that you were saying was, I've emailed you the contact details, and I've emailed you this, that, and the other, so for the offline interaction. But again, built into those apps is, next time there has that interaction, to build in that check. Have you done that? Do you need some reminder? Is there any way I can help you make that leap from just talking to me to actually speaking to the to a real person? It's a huge concern I have. There's a lot of well-being apps now dealing with people with who are feeling experiencing suicidal thoughts, and making sure that they make that jump is very important. So not just the user groups, but also the expert groups and the clinicians. You need to feed that and run that through, because there'll be little gaps there that you won't think about and users won't think about, that are actually really, really important. So that is the key thing. Agree with about the development and the personalisation aspect of it, I can't say it, is something that needs to be developed in all of them. So again, making sure you can do those skills, and maybe some high developer skills, I think is quite important. But yes, the next thing after that is you'd want to go to funding and build up in the networks and places, and just you look out at where there's funding. Innovate UK and various aspects, councils are looking for things, and just reaching out and building those networks are quite important. So you start wanting to go to events and displaying that.
Fabulous. Alex, do you have... Oh, yes. Please.
Two questions. One thing is, how would you define a genderless voice? Because what is a genderless voice, or does it exist? And the second thing is, as one problem can exist in multiple cultures, but then how do you design something like this, a voice interface that you target people from multiple cultures, but it still targets them? Because with visual interfaces, we have colors and fonts that will work for different cultures. But like, even if you take like a problem for old age people, but then old age people are in different cultures, and then they perceive things differently in different cultures, then how do you target one thing for multiple cultures?
Well, the thing is, you would, I imagine, there'd need to be a way to tell the bot the culture or the background that that person is from, and then have a specific conversation designed for that group. And so I know that with a lot of this technology, the tendency is to design one thing that works for everybody, but actually that's where we get into a lot of trouble around bias and issues around exclusion, that kind of thing. So we actually need to flip that concept. And as you just said, yeah, there's so many different diverse groups who might want to use this service. And actually, as a designer, you need to be aware of exactly what those groups are, and then where you need to build in special things just for them. And know how to kind of program that into your conversation flow, and there's so many different ways to kind of trigger that in the bot as well. But it's, yeah, unfortunately a lot more work. Oh, and the genderless voice. So I think I actually haven't really heard a genderless voice yet, and so I don't know. I imagine it can be done, but I just don't know if anyone's tried to do it yet.
The Boo group had a very, very interesting conversation about this, and they started to use the term androgynous voice rather than genderless voice, and they managed to find one, didn't you, where it was actually very difficult to detect whether it was a male or a female voice. I thought it was a very interesting approach.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The question I would have that I agree with that, and this is why I like the one where you could alter the pitch, where we have to look at customizable bots. So it says not one that you can customize it. When you set it up, you can do that customizing to what culture it is. Again, with colors as well. But you have to be careful with things, because if you're dealing with death and you know, people go, oh, do you need some black clothing? Well, other cultures don't use black, they use white, and so on and so forth. So I do think that customizable nature is. Do question, when it was talk about genderless and androgynous voices, do they need to be human voices? I'm old, I'm really old, and so I remembered when these were started, you know, Stephen Hawking's voice. Now we cope with that. It's not a human voice, it is clearly a robot voice. So sometimes, you know, technology allows us to go to this way, all right, we can produce these really good human voices now, and you can't tell that it's a bot speaking to you, so now I'm going to have to identify myself as a bot to remind you. But why does it have to be that? Why can't it be a robotic voice? And it's an interesting... I don't know why, when the conversation moved to that. I just think it's because we could do it, we have done it, but do we need to do it? Maybe we need to pull back on it, and that might address that, and it might address cultures and stuff like that. Again, you know, it's a question that we need to ask. I never had a problem with a robotic voice. I don't think Stephen Hawking's did, and he could have changed his voice, and he didn't, because he identified.
It's not really a question, it's more of an answer for you, or elements of an answer. We did talk about that, building Bud and producing Bud, and we talked about the fact that we chose a female teenager who's growing up in London as a persona, rather than someone who's completely different from us, just because we had 3 days to build something, and we kind of wanted to be as honest as we could and talk about something that we kind of knew, even if it's persona.
Sorry. So yeah, we did think about that, and we thought about culture, and we thought about race, and we thought about all those elements, and we didn't feel confident in talking for someone who was so different than us. If we had someone different than us, we were all female, and we were mainly, I guess we had elements of Western culture, mostly. We would have, but. And that's also one of the conversations that we had about Silicon Valley, and how it's mainly white and it's mainly male. And if you want to include all those notions of different cultures and beliefs and stuff, you need to hire different people.
Sorry. I have a question about privacy. Oh, I don't need this. About
yeah, it would be good if you could.
Oh, okay.
about our privacy. So as we know, the PIA need our several privacy to support his own work. So how to protect our privacy? Sometimes the PIA just listen us all the time. So how to keep the balance? I think it's very important.
Yeah, and I think that was a tension in a lot of the projects because, of course, you want to learn about the user so that you can give really well-tailored responses, but at the same time, we're critiquing this always listen mode situation. So it was, I think it's quite difficult to get the balance between those two things.
I think regulation is starting to catch up with this, especially with GDPR and automated decision making, but also dealing with this issue now about data gathering in these things. And I think as we develop now, we are going to have to start looking at algorithmic impact assessments, and within that, data impact assessments also exist, where it is very clearly signalled to the user what's happening with their data, and maybe to give them some control as well as to how that data is being dealt with and where it goes. So again, we need to integrate that into the systems where we can have that control of what happens to our data and whether it is externalized. And again, with things like Alexa and stuff, I'm not saying you do, but you never know. You might have people coming to your houses that you want to keep secret and stuff, and then there's this device listening, and you don't want that voice to be there, and you just think you need to be careful with that. There's some funny stories about being caught out with things. So again, this way of interacting with the device and controlling it and turning on and off and customizing it, I think is something that we need to think about, and particularly with our data as well. I think it's a huge issue. Same with the motion sensors. I'm not sure I want to be constantly monitored in my home. I understand the benefits, but there are also negatives as well. And again, to be reassured on that is quite an important thing. And we're just having that conversation now.
Yeah, and I think with these voice bots, we default to it being on an Alexa platform or a Google Assistant platform or something that's already kind of cloud-based and, integrated with all these other things about us. And so then that privacy element is just totally taken out of your control. But with, for example, the Bud example, that felt like it was in an app. So actually providing a voice bot within an app, does that allow you to really constrain how that data is captured, then stored, kept for the user to be able to then see and control and alter, and then ultimately erase if they wanted to. So I think it's also thinking about the technology. How do we use what is available to us, not just the default, what's available to us to help, maintain privacy. And I think there's something about I imagine there'll be some kind of AI that's embedded in this stuff to help understand, that personalization and learn what the person likes, blah, blah, blah. But how do we also ensure that that's done in a way that the user can then alter that later? So preferences might change. They might have been in a particular situation that they're not in anymore, and they don't want that referred back to by the bot again. So how do you keep a record as well of what is being said, and then therefore how that's impacting the bot, and then therefore what can the user change so that that impact might be changed again later?
And I don't know the question to this, but can you specify, because I would want to have something like that in my room, and somebody come into my room and ask the question, and then it starts interacting and asking me questions, that I've asked. So how can it be sure that it's identifying with that actual person, and it doesn't then respond to a different person, like your mum coming in and and asking a question and finding stuff out, to make sure that that is genuinely a personal app as well. So this idea maybe even of password sign-ins and keyword sign-ins might be something that you might want to watch and do for certain types of these devices which are very private.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that we had to sort of set aside the data section of the standards from, when we were first engaging with this framework, we kind of knew that in the scope of these 3 days, we couldn't deal with the data section because it would have been like another day at least, or another 2 days. You can see this is a really thorny issue. So next time we will make it longer so that we can deal with data. But we knew that we couldn't train the AIs on a data set, so we couldn't really quite get to that stage, but obviously it's a really important sort of phase that we have to consider next.
What do you think about the fact that privacy is like a trade-off? So something in return for a service, because it's like, I think, because if you make a conscious decision when you want to use these services, because you on your own don't have the resources to provide such services, so you just have to make the decision: is your data more important to you or that service? And then you just make a choice. The only thing that can be done, I feel like, the way privacy can be ensured is that the user is actually aware of everything that's happening, and then they make a conscious decision about it.
I totally agree. And the default for the design of all these things has been set by companies who make all their money on data about you. So they don't want you to be aware of that because it will ruin their business model. And they're a private company and they are innovating with this tech, so I get it. But at the same time, because these platforms are so ubiquitous in our lives now and are becoming the main way we access critical services, it's not really a justification that holds up anymore. And so I think there's opportunity to design different ways of doing it and not necessarily having to have that trade-off. And to your point exactly, I think in the future, people with means will be able to protect their privacy by paying for a service that protects their privacy, whereas people who don't have those means are going to be the ones whose data is owned by Google. And so there is a equality, poverty kind of social justice issue in that as well. And so I think the sooner we start to broaden the different ways in which data can be handled and shared and protected, the better it is longer term for kind of social justice issues.
And that has a huge implication because we train our AI on the data that we have, and if we have this in an equal distribution of the data, we know that it will likely to embed inequality the way that it's trained. There's a lot of worries about that. So within that, it's really important. So working with regulation, which is what I'm doing a lot of at the moment, is really, really, really vital now before it gets embedded. And just letting people know that AI, for example, is being involved. A classic one was somebody going, oh, why is your Netflix different from my Netflix? I'm like, algorithm, duh. You know, it's just like, you really should know this, but they just don't know because it's so ubiquitous now and people don't know. So I mean, I'm particularly campaigning just for a quality stamp so that we know that this is an algorithm, so you know this is fairness testing, and a very simple setup where people know what to do with the data, how to interact with it in a very simple format. And it's about education, so we'll deal with that. So regulation and fighting for it, and the industry now is beginning to accept it, so that's quite a good thing.
So I'm afraid that we are out of time. We have some devices, or a device that you can interact with a little bit in the little lobby there, and we're going to have drinks upstairs. Alex, do you want to say any last words? Mike?
I'm tired, but and I'm happy that the Wi-Fi. We found a way how to hack the Wi-Fi. You know the stress we've had to do to get Alexa to work on the UL Wi-Fi has been amazing. But I just want to give a big up to the teams and the 8 different teams that came in, didn't understand what they were going to do on the first day, and then going through the first day of getting internet feminisms, getting everything fully loaded, going home, hoping that they come back the next day, and that the information is not maybe too deep for them and stuff like that, and they come back, fully embrace the process, and come out of here and make some really cool stuff. Yes, there are loads of comments from the panelists, which are a lot to soak in, but I still got to give you big up for doing that in 3 days. That stuff that people do in a month or something like that. And, my favorite voice designers are in this room, So I hope that you do take these ideas forward and don't let it die now. The Alexa prototypes are there for you to take it forward into some really cool, amazing stuff. So well done, everyone, for really just working hard over those 3 days, coming up with some really decent stuff and pushing your ideas into the world and, provoking conversation that could happen. Now let's go do drinks and relax and go home. Yeah, thank you everyone as well for coming to OSO and University Night as well. Thank you to the Feminist Internet team for putting us on. Thank you for URL Creative Computing Institute for allowing this to come into fruition as well, because you need all these partner supports. Thank you for the panelists for coming as well and giving your expert knowledge and advice. Thank you all. Thank you.